I think about this stuff outside of the game. I'm like,
That's what you want.
It's insidious.
The storyteller, in my opinion, you've done your job when on whatever messaging board you all use, people are talking about it out of game.
Yeah.
And that conversation, that's where it is. That's the narrative. That way when they come into the next game, they're like, all right, we're doing this, and this, and this. And they're always wrong, but it's great. In my mind, and this goes into the Quantum Ogre talk that Ben and I had a week or two ago. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a good
it's a good talk.
episode.
Yeah.
A good talk. Ben explains what Quantum Ogres are.
And I feel like it's a very pertinent talk to have within the gaming community. Because, like you said, there's a pretty hard division on it, and you all outline it pretty well for both sides.
Well, I think this is a good point to use the Quantum Ogre, which is essentially, at some point, a thing is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. Like, it's almost like railroading. At some point, a thing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that builds the tension.
Right.
And so everybody prepares for, okay, well, when is Ouse back? Or when do they run into Mellowell?
Right.
What were the ramifications of them letting her go?
Right. When is Ouse coming back, or who is Ouse? I think that's the better question.
Talk about Ouse really quick, because they don't know who Ouse is.
Well, none of us do, so that's fine. Ouse was already an NPC in the game when I started. So she had some interactions with the pre-existing characters that I was not privy to. But when I had joined the game, she was I guess you would assign her the role of a narrative NPC. We could bid her for certain things. We could actually use her knowledge and her combat skills to help us out. And she knew far more about what was going on than we did, and that was pretty clear. And I feel like it set up the Mellowell narrative very well, because you could tell that she was far more powerful than any of us. She was clearly there because she needed or wanted something in the dungeon that we were going to, and she believed that we were her ticket there. Now, when she disappeared, obviously, as a player, I have to speculate on why that happened. The DM, has his whole plan and whatnot, but my thought was that suddenly she thought that we wouldn't make it, we wouldn't be the ones to get her into that place. We would not be capable of connecting her with whatever she needed. And so she just did what she needed to do. But I don't believe that made her give up on her goal. And so I've tried to stay really alert for...什么? Oh, yeah, 喝水. Oui?
Don't worry about that.
Okay. Anyway.
Gravel switch, I made it home. Hulker, good.
Hey, Hulker.
I put it in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so there was a point right before Ouse disappeared where it was...
With Poe. So Poe actually knows why she disappeared, but he just hasn't mentioned it yet.
Awesome. Lovely. Damn it, Poe. Anyway, I didn't know that. Oh, y'all.
Yeah, you gotta drink your water first.
I have so much water. Anyway, let me finish this thought before I lose it. So, there was a point in the middle of combat where Ouse was disguised as a different person, was it? And I recognized her by her staff. I was the only one. I recognized her. And she just, blinked, or she...
Bamfed.
She was gone. Yeah, she bamfed.
She teleported.
Which, to me, felt like an Easter egg in and of itself. If she could do that in the midst of the Dreadfort where we were at...
Well, it's one of those things where it's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like when Game of Thrones was good. And everyone was thinking, oh,
Yeah.
who's Jon Snow? And you have all these fan theories. And that's really where you want, in my opinion, that's where you want
Your players to be.
your players to be. But
And it worked.
But not just random shit. It's the moment that they actually invest in the story at large.
Right.
Not just, what are we doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? But, wait a minute. What's going on? And then they start to incorporate that into their plans,
Yeah.
or they dismiss it on purpose or whatever. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's very difficult to get that investment. It takes time. It's like a pilot episode of a show.
TNG.
Of TNG,
Yeah.
where you watch that pilot episode and you're like, it's got to hook them.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to actually get hooked into NPCs.
I think it's your goal is to get the players to care about why the world is moving, and you can describe that term in a moment.
Right.
Why the world is moving the way it does after you've done an action or what have you not. You can just dismiss how things play out, or you can go, no, wait a second, that probably means something, and I should probably care about it. And it's not a spontaneous caring, it's something that the DM has built you up to go, oh,
And you got to be careful.
it's important.
So in this game,
Talk about that.
I feel like it's a healthy. I hope it's a healthy mixture of quintessential D&D style play, as well as narrative. Because there's something nice about breaking down the door, kicking down the door and killing the monster. There's something cool about that. Sometimes it's just as easy as that's why it's there. And when you look in the treasure chest, you find treasure, right? Why didn't the monsters take it? Because it's for the characters to take. There's something cool and relaxing about that. And then being able to, that nice balance of being able to have your players also default into, okay, cool, granted, treasure chest is there, that's awesome, and what's the story about? And not break the fourth wall, so to speak. Let me do some comments really fast. All right, Bill is a storyteller like I am, Megan says. No matter what game it is, you're there for the creation and fabrication of the story. Truth. So if the players, the character develop a connection or a rapport. Right. So exactly, you don't care about the setting or you don't care about the system when it really comes down to it. How does one get their rocks off when they're playing these games? If they want to roll a bunch of dice and, masturbate furiously over the numbers they roll, they're probably not going to enjoy my game. Ever. And there's a couple people in the circle of friends that are exactly like that, whose names I will not mention, because I don't really hold anything against them.
It's just a different play style.
Do I? I don't think I do. But it's a different play style. Ben and I, when we were first starting Dreadlord, we went to some game stores. And we're trying to kind of ingratiate ourselves amongst the consistent gamers that were there. They would have a game every week in whatever system, whatever die 20 based system that they were running. And we heard the same thing every time. Oh, it's a really good DM. Oh, it's a really deep story and all these things. And then we sat in on their games. And this is going to sound a little bit elitist. It's not supposed to sound elitist. It's not supposed to be elitist.
It's an observation of a different gaming style.
It's a different gaming style.
Yeah.
That's it. And they were much more in league with talking about the story.
Strategy.
Rather than
out of
doing.
game strategy.
Yeah, out of game strategy. Well, what do you do on your turn? I attack it. Okay, you do this damage. All right, what do you do? The demon looks like this. Here's some narration about what it looks like. Okay, I attack it. I do this and this and this. And I roll, and okay, I have this. Okay, the next door. And in my mind, that's exceedingly boring to both DM or storytell as well as play. To some people, that's exactly what they want, and I graciously bowed out of that game. No problem, right? But as Megan said, there's a certain style of game where the storyteller is there spending all of that time because they want a narrative story.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted something like, I don't really care why you're doing what you're doing. I don't care why you're doing it. I want to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then as the storyteller, what are you trying to accomplish? As in, what's your end goal? Well, I stabbed him because he looked at me weird. I don't care why. I just don't even say it. If you say it in game.
Right.
You looked at me weird. Ugh, and you stab him. Awesome. Way better. And when you remember that session, you don't remember, I rolled 37 damage.
Yeah.
You remember, dude, you took your sword and stabbed it through a demon's head.
You threw a gnome at a goblin.
You threw a gnome at a goblin.
You know?
Okay.
It happens.
Yeah. GOT was good when characters you absolutely loved could meet their end at any time.
Made him more precious.
And never came back.
Yeah.
Agreed. Although the Jon Snow thing, spoilers, it was great in the book.
I feel like this show was just a symptom of the show outpacing the books. And,
it is.
That's a hard thing to bridge anyway.
You see it in anime.
Yeah.
You see it in with George R. R. Martin.
Right. I have no hate over it. Disappointment, yes, but that's a really hard thing to be able to bridge. I'm not capable of it, so I can't be mad at it.
It's a whole other conversation about GOT, but
true.
I will.
Sorry.
I will say this about it, because one of this other YouTube channel, it's been several months ago that I watched it. A guy was reviewing GOT, and he had, actually, I don't know if it was a he or she. This person had this really interesting thought, and they were like, well, check it out. Let's say you're George R. R. Martin, and you're writing these books, and it takes you forever. Everybody knows it takes him forever to write a book. Yeah. No problem with that. It's hard to write books.
Especially ones that are that complex and have so many moving parts.
He's been writing these things since, I believe, the mid-'90s, okay?
Yeah.
So, the thing is, let's say you're that dude, and now there's this show that is seriously doing well and is making a lot of money. And the show is going to outpace you. Question. Do you finish your books before the show ends? No, you don't. Why? Well, let's say you finish the books, right? And it's like, okay, well, people will buy the books, but a lot of people, they're just going to watch the show. Because they're like, well, I want to watch the show. I don't really like to read because a lot of people don't read. However, if you wait, everyone's going to watch the show. Then, if the show sucks, or if it's great, awesome. If the show sucks, they're definitely going to buy your book. Because they want the real ending.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It
was damned from the beginning.
Yeah.
When it really came down to it.
And there's nothing wrong with that in terms of, that is kind of the formula that Hollywood runs on anyway. And we've all agreed to it in a way. Because
we watch it.
We watch it and we want the next season quickly. We don't want to wait a year for it to come out. We want it like now. Oh, it's over. Oh, what am I going to do?
There's no such thing as a finale anymore.
Right.
Because you can watch it all on Netflix.
Right. And so it's this whole thing, this whole like bundle of, well, it's okay if it has a disappointing ending because it doesn't mean that's what the author intended or wrote. It's like you made a series based on the Silmarillion before that book was finished. How are you going to rush that complexity and that ending? Is it worth rushing, as you said, is it worth finishing that before the series comes out and ruining your books? Everything you spent your time on?
This is what Peter Jackson, in my humble opinion, should do. Get a deal with Netflix Studios. Do a mini-series about the Silmarillion.
Yeah.
The story of the elves. Dude!
That would be amazing.
Dude!
I would go over well. I have a feeling.
You're allowed to say that you do things differently. That isn't bad to say.
Yeah. Agreed.
It gave him a free pass not to fuck up the books. Truth.
Yeah. I feel like it's more important to hold to your creation. Let Netflix do what they need to do to get their viewers. You take your cut of it. And that gives you the money you need to ride on to finish your art.
Yep.
And that's okay, Netflix is going to do what they need to do to get the views. but hold true to the books that you're creating. That's cool.
Now, Megan mentions you're allowed to say that you do things differently.
Oh, in terms of the different playing styles.
Just different playing styles.
That's fun.
That's true. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Not everybody does.
This is true. Not so. I feel like it's more important to enjoy what you're doing with the group that you're doing it with,
Right,
than forcing it and leaving everyone with kind of like this half-cocked, bitter taste in their mouth.
absolutely.
You know, I would rather go, hey, I don't think I play the same way as you all. I want to give you all the space and the people to do what you need to do to enjoy the gameplay with and bow out, rather than forcing my way in and making it awkward for everybody because I can't play the way they do. I would rather go, ooh, not my crowd, and that's absolutely fine. I don't find any sort of insult or anything in that. Like, God, I hope we all play different. You know?
Well,
I hope there's
people,
a different gaming group for everybody, you know?
Some people are going to run into my game and they're going to be like, well, you guys have candles, music, and you talk in weird voices.
Yeah. And I dressed up like a rogue today.
You know?
Yeah.
And they're just like, you know, one of my buddies who plays in this game every so often. He's bored to tears, and then he says, when are we going to fight? When's the next fight?
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to fight, right? And the thing is that I can run a game like that. I'm the reverse. If I go into a game and they're just like, oh, what are we going to fight? What are we going to fight? I'm bored to tears.
Yeah.
In the vampire game that I'm playing in, anytime there's a combat, I essentially check out. Mm-hmm. And it's my own failing, but I'm like, you know, I'm very upfront about it. Look, guys, I have not made a character that fights. I'm not interested in the dice. Storyteller, you roll my dice. And this is a shitty thing for a player to do. But, you know, I'm typically a storyteller, so I'm probably a shitty player, right? That idea of, I'm here for a reason. I'm being very clear about that. Is that cool with you all that I'm playing this way? Yes, this is how I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment they're like, in the event they're like, well, you know, you really need to, you know, really care about the dice and all this. We're playing vampire. I'm not interested in the dice. I don't care.
Right.
You know when you're wanted, know when you're not wanted. And I'm going to take this a step further. In the event I get into a game, I play in a game, and it's all about the strategy, the technicalities of the rules. I will probably walk away from that game and say, that game sucks. Now, does that mean they are invalid in some way? No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Just means it's not for you.
I think it sucks. People are allowed to be like, that's stupid.
Yeah. It's like
that
not liking
sucks.
pickles.
It's like not liking pickles.
Yeah.
I love pickles.
I hate them.
You crazy.
It's fine.
Bread and butter pickles suck. These are declarative
They all
statements.
suck.
Okay.
But our point being is that there are going to be different styles of gameplay that you're just not going to be into, that other groups are really about. And I think the magic is finding the group that you play well with and that you are all invested in the same types of gameplay. You know, you can have a little bit of variance for sure.
What are the expectations?
Yeah, what are the expectations? What are you comfortable doing with your character? Does everyone else agree to be comfortable with that type of gameplay?
Hey, we're going to play a horror game. Don't make dick jokes.
Yeah.
Like, straight up.
Yeah.
The moment that you're in a horror game, like, and you're actually trying to build that tension, actual tension, not bullshit YouTube, slapstick, you know, oh, we're scared, Zombieland. No,
Yeah.
Actual horror. Okay, look, guys and girls, don't do dick jokes. Don't be on your phones. You have to keep the tension.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you're going to go into Gaddy Town or whatever, just as a crazy example. You're going to Gaddy Town, and you're going to go with the kids, and you're all going to have fun playing weird, like, family games. Okay, hey, Uncle Bill, don't get trashed. Okay?
It's close to home.
I know. There are boundaries.
Yeah.
Comments. Full tastes only then. Full taste of what? Gravel Switch also was never a fan of min-maxing characters at the outset. I just don't have the time to learn how to optimize my character sheet. Yeah, agreed.
Fuck Pickles.
I make horrible characters in terms of
Hulker.
mechanics. Fuck Pickles, that's ridiculous.
Hulker, next game we play,
Truth.
I'll make some bang bang cauliflower for you.
That's good. That's a good point. Horror needs attention.
It does. So the players kind of have a duty to the DM to help build and fill out the storyline that the DM is building.
Yep.
Because if you don't agree to say yes to coin some acting terms that I know nothing about.
Right.
If you don't agree to say yes to the scene or the feel that your DM is trying to build, then you're not going to enjoy what's about to happen. Nobody is. Because you've broken that fourth wall. You've, done a Deadpool, but you've not pulled it off.
The thing is that if you're going to pull a Deadpool, first of all, understand Deadpool, while awesome, is an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it's okay to play that character if it's the game to play it. The thing is, if you're just, that's like, imagine you're on I don't know, I always do a sports team because I suck at sports. But let's say you're on a sports team and someone's like, or what is it, Leroy Jenkins. The thing is,
Leroy Jenkins.
There's a reason.
No one agreed to Leroy Jenkins.
There's a reason. Leroy Jenkins pulls a Deadpool. You ruined the game. Is it funny? Yes.
To everyone not in the dungeon.
Right.
Yes.
The thing is, it's don't be a fucking dick. Don't be a dick. If everyone's sitting there and the flesh golem erupts out of the pile of trash or whatever, and everyone's like, holy shit, and you're like, ha ha ha, ha, it's got a dick.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
And that's why I think it's important to be aware of the group that you're in.
Unless that's the game you're playing.
Right. You need to know the boundaries of the group that you're in, both DM and players, before you go and pull stuff like that. Because there are games where you can totally get away with that. But you need to have a good idea. Just pull your DM aside and go, hey, dude, is it okay if I do this?
You see, most of the time people don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
which is why I'm saying it on a live stream.
It's like when you're at a party. Not that anybody does parties anymore, but it's like you're at the party. You're all hanging out. It gets to the witching hour, and then the one guy who always does it comes out without his pants on. You know what I'm talking about? The one dude who always drops trowel. I don't know why. Yeah. Alcohol is usually involved. But that one dude, and you're like, dude, that is a party foul. Yeah. Is it funny? Yes.
To some people.
Yes.
But you've ruined it.
But now Will is leaving the building.
Yeah.
So don't do that in your game. Don't drop trowel.
Unless you've cleared it with your DM.
Don't fucking play Deadpool.
None of us are Deadpool.
Especially if you're not good at it.
Yeah. There are a lot of times where we as out of game will pull Will aside and ask him, is it okay if I do this in the game that we're about to play? I've got a plan. I would like to do this. I'd like to switch my spells, for example, for today.
Yeah. Poe is playing an arcane trickster and in D&D 5th. And until you get to a certain level, it's stupid, and the certain build, you want to do it the right way or else it's just kind of useless. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know that. This game, he was like, hey man.
Before game.
Can I switch out all of my spells except for the one I've used all the time, because it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. And I was like, yes, of course. Do it. Yeah, you can do that, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Because I know he's not trying to just change his character. Hey, can I be this completely different character now? No, that's not what he was doing. He was like, I want to play the guy I want to play. And it made a lot more sense. Yeah,
and it helped him feel more engaged in the story. He actually felt like he was better able to aid his party members.
And do the right thing.
And do the right thing, especially for the character he was trying to play anyway. But he did say it before the game started. He took you aside. He was like, will this be cool? It was a really cool conversation to get to overhear because I was like, that is good game etiquette. You do it before the game, before people get here, before you're supposed to play. You ask your DM, you flesh it out together, and then you're ready to rock and roll for the game.
And you're not just quoting rules like, well, technically.
Right.
It's like,
and it's because he cared about his character and how we all experienced the game together, which was really cool to see.
Right.
And that's why I switched characters in the beginning anyway.
Oh, you did switch characters.
Because I was a druid, but that was the first character I ever tried to play, and the spells were just...
Druids are hard to play.
They're
it's just
hard
a
to
lot.
play.
It's a lot to do.
It is, especially as a beginning tabletop player.
I actually, just as a DM, I would rather pretty much my players play anything but a druid.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't like druids. The art is really cool on them. It's just...
They're multifaceted to the point of they almost require babysitting for a new character such as me.
Second ed druids were okay.
Right. The point being is I am a 15-year-old druid in World of Warcraft. So when I started playing D&D, I was like, well, I'll probably be most comfortable playing a druid. Turns out, when you're rolling mechanics and having to keep up with spells and cantrips and, the game is not doing it for you, it's a lot harder.
There's a proper way to play those mechanics.
There's a proper
accurately.
way. And when you're trying to learn the basic game mechanics and game rules...
Yeah, don't play a druid.
Don't play a druid.
Don't play a spellcaster. I know you want to.
Until you learn the game.
Just don't do it.
It's just overwhelming to both the people you're playing with, your DM, and yourself. Start with something where you don't have to worry about that. Figure out how the game works. Then throw some spells on top of that. Like, I feel like I could play a druid now.
You could probably pull it off, yeah.
And do all right. I wouldn't be great, but I would be at a point where I could learn it without having to be hand-holded the whole way through. Hand-holded? Handheld?
You
babysat the whole way through. I am, sometimes.
Comments. Okay, although the RPG equivalent of a trauma film sounds fun if everyone knows what the deal is from the get-go. Nah. Wade Wilson was and you just said it.
Yes.
Maturity and intelligence of your group is great to know.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a smartass, but not a dumbass.
Yes.
I say that to my players all the time. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. You have to have respect for the game.
And the people experiencing the game with you.
Right. Deadpool is in Deadpool.
Right.
Deadpool is in his own fucking movie.
Yeah.
Okay?
He doesn't pop into other people's movies yet.
And if he does, you love it, but it's gonna make sense,
Yeah.
Okay. We've gotten way off topic, which is fine. Let's wrap this up. Because we meant to do 20 minutes.
But it's you. So.
But, it's me, so
Yeah.
we talked for exactly forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so gaming without combat. Deadpool also had screenwriters. Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So gaming without combat. It's a bit of a misnomer for the title. Because combat can be social. It's the RP. When I say gaming without combat, I mean gaming without this stereotypical roll initiative. It's your turn. Now it's your turn. Okay, you get to go again. And again and again. Okay, because you have that. Great, everyone cares. Right. And you, and you, and you. Mm-hmm. Top of the round, bad guy goes, now you.
Right.
That kind of thing. Instead, gaming in such a way that whether you're doing initiative, whether you're doing RP, whether you're doing rounds, however you count it, doesn't matter. Everything that happens pushes the story forward.
And all the characters are invested.
And you're invested.
In what each other player is doing.
I swing my sword. I miss. Great, your turn. That's not interesting.
Right.
You pull out your sword, you miss. Okay, well, a tactic, describe. What is this? A lot of players, I miss. Okay, you whiff. Woof. As maybe the DM then says, okay, as you all see the frustration on so-and-so's face as they whiff, as the demon or whatever laughs, ha 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 ha, your swordsmanship is bullshit. Because demons talk that way.
Yeah.
And then shoots like a psychic blast at him. Oh, that's against the rules. It's like it's flair, dude.
Yeah.
right? The whole idea is, why'd you miss all this? But once you get to the point where everyone trusts the DM,
Mm-hmm.
everyone trusts each other, you are making narrative decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, there's rules. Yes, you stab him. Yeah, you want to win, all this stuff. But this is a cool story. You whiff with the sword. Psychic blast as she tries to help. As finally you roll the die. Because she tries to help, you get advantage, just to use the rules of D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, you stick it through his head. That is awesome. Woom, stab, and then you're angry when you do it, so describe how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a story. Versus, cool, great, okay, he's dead. One of them, in my opinion, is fun. One of them fucking sucks.
Yeah. One of them invests all of the players in the game, whereas the other just describes the bare mechanic of what the single player is doing.
And there's a fine line. For instance, there's a point where Gravel Switch today, combat had just started. His turn was like 2 or 3 turns down. This is one of the things I don't like about initiative, which is why Dreadlord does not have it.
Right.
Regardless, he was like, okay, I want to do this thing. And I was like, well, you can do that on your turn. And so we went on. And that might have sounded like stuffing him, right? Being like, okay, well, no, okay, mechanics. Actually, the reason that D&D has initiative is to bring some sort of order to the madness.
Right.
This happens, this happens, this happens. It's all kind of happening at the same time. And because Dungeons and Dragons, D20 systems, while they are ubiquitous and everybody knows them and thinks they're simple, those mechanics are not simple. Well, all you do is roll a die 20 and add and subtract. Right. Except you have this class level, and technically this happens, but you have this kind of action, and really, we'll add this and this and this, we'll subtract that, but wait a minute. It is not easy. It's not. So you have an initiative track, right?
Right, and it's to help the DM sort through the chaos of a melee. Like, how are you supposed to further the story, tell what the boss is doing without some sort of outline for
Order of operations.
Order of operations. Ooh, math. Yeah.
So there's a point of, okay, using, okay, listen, it's not your turn. We're going to put you to the side. We're not discounting what you have to say. It's just, it doesn't make sense now. Because we can't have bedlam.
Right. How can you keep track if everybody's going at once?
Now, there are ways of having initiative.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, of eschewing, of not having initiative.
Right.
The way that Dreadlord does it, it's going to sound not fun or not fair. It is fun. The bad guys go first. That's it. The world moves, whatever that is, the mountain erupts, wind blows, whatever.
Then you do.
The bad guy then goes. Bad guy goes first. Then the players go, and they decide how they go. Now there's a mechanic. You have points called cunning. And if you spend cunning, 1 point in that round, you go before the bad guy. That's it. So it's a very interesting idea of the players being like, well, wait a minute. Do I want to save my cunning, or do I want to spend it now? So what'll happen is the bad guy will go. Okay, you see the Elder Lich pull out, these spheres of annihilation, in a little marble bag of spheres of annihilation, and start shooting them at people, laughing maniacally. I spend cunning, and you go before. And that's the power of cunning. It's like the old school D&D, where the person who goes first is actually last in initiative. As in, you almost get to know what happens before you go.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
It's very useful for, again, if you're into narrative-based games.
Yeah.
Which, again, is why I play World of Warcraft, because
It's like celerity actions, yeah.
Ooh.
But you don't get multiples.
Yeah.
And it's not based in buying and being more powerful in your disciplines like celerity. Instead, it's you have a pool of cunning, and everyone knows they can use it. Everyone has that. And you get it back by accomplishing the goals you have written on your sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So people accomplish their goals in the game, they get back their resources.
Right.
You spend your resources to accomplish your goals. So
and your goals are intentionally made so that you can gain your cunning back.
Right.
You don't make them outlandishly impossible to achieve. You can have one that's kind of a bigger goal, but you create your goals so that you can intentionally get those resources back.
Right. Anyway.
Which is very useful.
So, last points.
Mm.
I've said a bunch. Last points you might have?
I've said so much too.
Gaming without combat?
When done right, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
You gotta find your group, discuss your safe words, boundaries, all that good stuff. Feed them snacks.
Get snacks.
Get snacks. It's important for gaming.
Food, because, you know, if you're gonna drink, have drink, but you best have some food.
Mm-hmm. Make sure your players hydrate.
You're playing 4 or 5, 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully.
And when done right, it's something you look forward to for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and it is real life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying gaming is real life. I'm saying that real life getting in the way, whatever, go fuck yourself. Right now is real life.
Yeah.
You watching this is real life.
Yeah.
Right? So take it seriously.
Right.
Just as another example for people who are more familiar with vampire and white wolf mechanics. Right.
Mm.
Absolutely. Celerity is a really good example of how it works. Okay. Dude, I cook for my games. Hell yeah. All right.
Well, I
so
only
that
did
is
rice today, but still.
That is it for this evening. Thank you, Emyris, for jumping on, talking about gaming without combat. Thank you, Megan, for being there in the clutch. Thank you.
Rod.
Thank you, Holger, for jumping on. And we have 2 or 3 other people. I don't know who they are, but thank you guys.
Little shy babies. Thanks for jumping
Shy
on.
babies. Post in the chat. We would love to know who you are and what you think. And if we know you, then fucking A. Thanks for supporting it.
Yeah.
Ask Cam about my cooking. I shall. All right. We're out. We'll see you next Sunday at 8:30. That is the time that we're really, really going to try to push for doing this stuff.
Mm.
And at the very least, you'll hear me talking about some really cool shit. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool shit.
Cool shit.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone.